You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for All-Star Season 6, Episode 7, titled Show Up Queen. Yeah, Lauri, Show Up Queen. My name's Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by two calamitous co-hosts. First, from Bloody Podcast, please say...
Like Mama Ru says, play my song!
To Lauri Roggenkamp. Hello, Lauri Roggenkamp.
Hello. Wow, what an episode. I'm ready to get into it. I'm ready to talk about it.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
And that voice you heard right now, that was strangely more high-pitched than the cisgendered woman we have.
What are you talking about?
Well, I want him to use his real voice. Adam, use your real voice.
Girl.
From show business, please say...
I'm a legend, darling.
To Adam Salandra. Hello, Adam Salandra. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here. Just like Lauri. Can't wait to dig in.
Really?
Yes.
I can't tell you being serious because apart from the wonderful, wonderful ending of this episode, probably one of the best endings in the show's history. It was actually a rather boring episode. I kept nodding off when I was watching it for the first time.
Oh, I liked it. I also kind of felt like, and we'll get into it, but I felt like they did Jan dirty a little bit.
Oh, no.
Well, you've become a Jan stan.
Oh, my God.
I wouldn't say I'm a stan. I would say I'm a stin. I would say I'm not a stan.
Here's what I'll say.
A little bit below a stan.
Here's what I'll say, and I was going to talk about this later. She must have really pissed someone off that was very powerful at that network because they just love, they have a Jan voodoo doll and they just love peeing on it and fucking with it and whatever.
Truly.
We'll get into it. I don't want to get too into it now.
Okay.
No, you know what? Why don't we get to the two things? We'll just get into the well, no, before we do, by the way, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia, where you could hear why I told Adam Salandra to use his real voice. That's actually in reference to a story he told on a show called Just Between Us Girls, where we chit-chat before the episode starts. It was a good episode this week. We talked about Adam's forthcoming wedding and how he has real friends. Lauri just randomly took a bathroom break in the middle of it. And, it was a good time. So patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Join at the premium level. This week, the girls write their own lyrics to a girl group number called Show Up Queen. Trinity K. Bonet is named the winner of the challenge, while Pandora Box and Jan are placed in the bottom two. Later on the main stage, Alexis Mateo shows up as the lip-sync assassin. After a lip-sync battle against Trinity for their legacies, Alexis Mateo is named the winner of the challenge. She removes the lipstick from her bra to reveal the name of Pandora Box. Just as Pandora is set to say her goodbyes, Alexis stops everything and removes another lipstick. It's a tie. Ru announces that in the case of a tie, the winner of the challenge will reveal the lipstick of the queen she chose. Trinity K. Bonet walks up and reveals that the name on her lipstick is Jan. The girls are gagged as Jan leaves the competition and joins the game within the game. Ladies, name two things you liked about the episode and one thing you did not. Let's start with our guest, Mr. Adam. What's your middle name, Salandra?
Michael.
Adam M. Salandra. It doesn't really roll off the tongue that well, but Adam Michael Salandra.
Why am I the guest?
Adam.
What?
I feel like I'm a co-host of this season.
Well,
why am I the guest?
I feel like a co-host shows up to every episode. Anyway, go ahead.
Okie-dokie. So,
well, Salandra said, I can't.
Right.
Well, no,
We're
hold on.
unzipping and whipping them out right away.
Hear me out. Salandra says to me, I can't meet up I can't do the show on Friday because it's my birthday. And I'm like, okay. And then on Monday, I find out Monday's his actual birthday.
Yeah, but Friday, that's his birthday weekend.
Also, it was not just not doing the show. It's not like I didn't show up to this time. You wanted to do it at 8 p.m. Of course, I had dinner plans.
I didn't want to. I was scheduled to run that for the Pride 48 weekend. But
so now the truth comes out.
So what are the two things you liked about the episode and the one thing you didn't?
Two things I liked. The first thing is this episode, I simply loved our black queens. Wow.
Your dogs didn't.
And we'll get to this, but when the song of the main challenge started, I was like, oh boy, this is not great. And then Raja and then Trinity came in and I was like, oh, no, it's just that we needed this talent. I thought that the black queens shined. I also like when they were supporting Pandora, who's an old white woman next to them. I love that, but it also made me realize we start off with such a diverse cast and it's all white queens left except, two. We have two, but like all the white queens have survived so far.
It's like The Bachelor
stuff. Yeah, truly.
Like when you think The Bachelor and then there's like, they always put in like a token, like 2 or 3 girls. And you're like, well, they're going to survive the first couple episodes. And by episode 3, it's like, see ya. And then it's all white girls.
What I want to be ya.
Yeah, they never get a passport.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, they never get a passport. You're right. Okay, so Lauri, what about you? Name two things you liked about the episode, one thing you didn't.
Okay, so I liked, there's 2 specific things I liked.
Perfect.
I liked when Sonique Love and Ginger and Eureka were looking at their outfits, and Sonique Love says, it looks like we're fighting crime in different cities. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. I did too.
And the other thing I really laughed at was when the juxtaposition of Pandora in between Raja and Trinity trying to learn the dance moves. Just
it was
them
wild.
going like,
wild.
are you doing okay? And she's like, I'm nervous. And what I didn't like was I didn't like the actual, so I very much love learning how the sausage is made. I love the little interstitials where they show them working on the song, and I loved when RuPaul came and all that stuff. The final product, I was just sort of like, okay, it's okay. It didn't wow me. It wasn't the best. I mean, the queens brought it, and they, I thought Trinity definitely should have, deserved to win. But, I just kind of felt like it was all right, well, I guess that's it. So, and there were certain parts of it that I felt again, we're not seeing the whole picture. I mean, they said, oh, the queens are choreographing everything. But then there were certain times where they were dancing with people that weren't in their groups and they were doing it in a choreographed way. So was that happening? How did they learn that choreography if they were only choreographing their groups?
They definitely did not only choreograph themselves. They always have someone come in and
clean it up. And then also, they generally they split the episodes in 2 generally. So what I mean is they'll film the first part, then the crew takes a weekend, and maybe they'll bring someone to clean up the choreography. The girls will practice it over the weekend, and then they resume, on a Friday, they film up until, they film the rehearsals and stuff like that, but then the main stage they don't do until Monday. That makes sense? Yeah. And so they film it on Monday and stuff like that. And so they have more than a couple days and then practice all that stuff. All right. First thing that I liked. I was so happy that this Jan was gone. But not only was I happy that she was gone, that's why I said she pissed somebody off at this World of One. They do not like her, right?
It's constant psychological torture.
The way they eliminated her.
They're literally psychologically abusing Jan.
Yes, they really are. The best thing to do is for her to be eliminated. Yeah. The way it's cruel. It's cruel because if you think about it, they know exactly who voted for whom. Okay?
Sure.
They know who has every lipstick. So if RuPaul wanted to, and it wouldn't have been weird, she could have just had Trinity win the lip sync and send Jan home. End of story. Right? At the next day, they'll find out it was a tie. But no, she gave it to Alexis Mateo, and then they told Alexis, pull out Pandora's first, right?
That's the other thing.
Yes.
Because you did that, you're already, mine was already there.
Yeah. And I watched this over and over again. So she says Pandora box. Pandora's face falls and Jan does the fakest like, and like, oh,
Jan,
I'm
so relieved.
sorry. Like, like, oh, well,
Yeah.
well, and then Alexis is like, but wait. And you're like, oh shit. You see her face. Her face just falls. She's like, there's another lipstick. And then she said, it's a tie, and then Trinity comes out and pulls it, the lipstick, and says Jan, and I was like, oh my god, they love torturing this girl. They love it.
I've been watching a lot of Hell's Kitchen, and Gordon Ramsay will do this thing in Hell's Kitchen where two people will be in front of him, but he'll go, but there's somebody else, and he'll pull somebody from like the group and eliminate them. So for some reason, I was like, oh shoot, Eureka's gonna get eliminated. For some reason, I thought they were going to pull somebody completely different out of the hat. I was a little upset because I felt like from what you saw, it didn't seem like anybody wanted to vote for Pandora. Yet somehow they managed to get a tie of people who wanted to vote for Pandora.
I think it makes sense because if you look at it from talking to my boyfriend about this. Well, let's talk about it in the show just really quickly. It's an argument about track record, and it's actually a very debatable point, is that Pandora never won a challenge, but she was never in the bottom. Jan won a challenge, but was in the bottom twice. And so it really comes down where you fall in the track record and what that means.
It actually is what made it exciting for me is it was the most even. Like last week, it was so obvious to choose Akira over Raja, where this one was not.
Yeah. All right. Also, I loved Alexis Mateo. I don't know why, again, seeing a real all-star come on is very refreshing. That line about now she has 2 free lipsticks was really good. And
that was funny.
Now, I will say, Alexis Mateo, and I'm saying this because as has been described by a listener, a person who left a review, whatever his name is, like Miami, what was it, Tampa 1243 or whatever? I look like Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs, which I feel gives me the right to say this. The girl needs to go on a treadmill or something like that. When she came out, I was like, oh,
It was, Sean was like, what did she do? Like, did she get, something looks different? And I was like, well, she looks different fully.
In fairness, it's something about cause she had 2 out, cause she did a reveal. The outer outfit made her look bigger. When she took off, look, she was still a little plump, but she slimmed down considerably when she took out when she took off the other outfit. But yeah,
it's not even about gaining weight for me. It's the same way as when someone loses a ton of weight. It's just like my mind sees someone in a certain way, and I'm like, this just, even if they're like that way then forever, I'm like, no, I can't adjust.
Yeah, no,
I thought she looked hot, to be honest with you. Well, I was like, I love the big hair and the body. I don't know. I like a woman and a man that I feel like if I tackled them, why
are you tackling people?
I don't know.
But if she does.
If I do it, we could tumble. And then, I don't like people that I feel like like Pandora, I feel like if I tackled her, she'd die.
Well.
So.
And then finally, the thing I didn't like, the Show Up Queen song. Like Lauri said, it was not a good song.
Yes, you didn't ask me what I didn't like, but that's definitely what I had as well because.
I didn't ask you. We do it every week.
You let me say one thing I liked, and then you moved on to Lauri.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. What are the other things you liked and the other thing you didn't like?
Well, no, it doesn't even matter because it's the same. The twisty ending loved, and then the song, they sometimes get songs, even if they're bad, that are like catchy and I'm into them, and I even like listen to them off the show. This will not be one.
No, really bad. All right, well, let's move on. After Akira's elimination, the girls count the lipsticks, and the vote was unanimous for Akira to go home, except for Akira's one Raja vote. The girls note that every girl has won a challenge save for Eureka and Pandora. Later, Ms. Box talks about her frustration that she hasn't risen to the level of the competition. The next day, the girls say goodbye to Akira and Ginger reveals her outfit matches the walls of the workroom. Next, RuPaul enters the workroom to announce this week's Maxi Challenge. The queens, working in teams, will write and record a new LGBT anthem titled Show Up Queen. They'll also work on group choreography, and each queen will record a solo track. Raja and Kylie were named the captains of the teams, and the teams broke down as follows. Team Raja was Jan, Trinity, and Pandora, while Team Kylie was Ginger and Eureka. Back in the workroom, Pandora reveals she was very withdrawn as a child because of her gay voice growing up. Raja feels a renewed sense of vigor after a morning depression. Meanwhile, Team Kylie is using fashion to help propel their group to the top. All right, let's start with Ms. Roggenkamp here. Lauri Roggenkamp, and let's start with the top of the show. After the elimination, there's a part where Jan mentions that the girls, that everybody has won a challenge except for Pandora and Eureka. Do you feel Pandora and Eureka have a right to feel scared that they have not won a challenge?
I would say if this was a normal show, like a normal season, I would say yes. Mm-hmm. But the fact that this is All Stars, mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, I think, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I'm going to. If we were to say who we think would be in the top 3, I think Eureka would be in all of our top 3. Probably number 1. I don't know. So I think that, like, the fact that she hasn't won mm-hmm. doesn't, I think, diminish from her, clear that she's doing a great job. But now that I think about it, if we're talking about track record, if that's how they're going to vote, if Eureka was ever in the bottom, she could potentially go home simply because she hasn't won a challenge.
So, Andrew, what do you think?
I think you definitely got to my true thoughts at the end there because, yeah, I do think that Eureka is still one of the strongest competitors in the game, but I also think she's easily at most risk to be kicked out, as well as Pandora, based on no wins, which is why that's where the whole thing came up, that they were called out like you didn't win yet, mm-hmm. Which actually gave Pandora her first storyline of the season, mm-hmm. 7 weeks in. And she was admitting then that she's kind of quiet to them, but I thought that was weird because she's saying I sort of stand in the background. I'm like, then why are you on Twitter every week wondering why they're not editing you into the show? It's because you're not speaking.
It's a very good point.
Maybe she means confessionals, but I mean, anyway, that to me, as soon as they gave her a little storyline, I was like, oh, she's either winning or more than likely losing. And we almost lost her.
Yeah. Did you have any other thoughts about this right after Akaria's elimination nonsense, Lauri?
I honestly, it's probably producer driven, but do we think I thought it was a little weird that there was a little bit of silence after we found out who everybody voted for. And
no, we're not there yet. We're not there. We're only after the elimination. Salandra.
Oh, no.
No. All right, now we'll move on. Lauri, any thoughts on the next day when they counted the lipsticks and all that?
No, I'm good.
Wait.
No. I thought, obviously it's producer driven, but I did think it was kind of funny when they count the lipsticks and then there's a beat and then Jan goes, so, looking around the room, there's 5 of us who have won, but only 2 who haven't won a challenge. Mm-hmm. And it was just and then everybody I think Pandora and Eureka just were like, oh, really? We're doing this now? So.
Well, and yeah, sorry, I guess I jumped ahead too, because that's what I was referring to, where that was the moment. Pandora suddenly had her first moment, but it's because it's never so apparent that it's such an even race, but everyone had won, which was very wild, and especially in a season where it's just feels like randoms, mm-hmm. who I'm coming to love and respect them all, but certainly none were on winners on their season. Ginger and Eureka really the only 2 that came close. So it's interesting that they're all even playing field.
Well, also, it's funny that you say that. That explains a lot, because I'm noticing that these people who weren't front runners in their own season now see 2 wins as now they're the, and Trinity's one, they say in the elimination day, and this relates to what we're talking about, well, whoever wins, if someone wins a second challenge, well, then they're clearly the front runner. And I'm like, are they?
But it's true. I felt that too, because, and not in terms of, just in terms of track record and stats, they have the most wins. I think I wrote somewhere on here, does it mean whoever gets the first 2, are they automatically in the finals? And obviously normally no, but with everyone's doing well and someone's inching, on this, especially All Stars, anything could happen, but it feels like she is a frontrunner now. She has 2 wins under her belt.
I mean, I guess she does technically, but I feel someone else will have a different win next week, and it'll be
sure.
You know,
oh yeah, it's not going to be long lived.
Yeah, perhaps, it's not long, but she's acting like, oh my god. Well, I'm like, I could see Shay having that sort of attitude last year, where it was like, well, I am fucking winning everything, or Ben.
But actually,
imagine
just let's say for a moment, Trinity K. Bonet wins. It's very wild because she was so not one of the all-stars of her season. That would be kind of cool.
All right.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't Miss Cracker win more last season, but then everybody was saying that Shay was going to win, so they sort of discredited what I think there is something to say that when people are sort of like if we put Trinity up against Eureka, I don't think Trinity would win.
Yeah,
we'll see. Well, yeah, I don't think that necessarily the producers stick to that as much as the girls do for elimination purposes.
Yeah.
What's funny about this challenge is it feels very much, even though it's only been about a year since they filmed it, very much a product of its time. When they filmed it, it was in the thick of the election. And so I sort of felt this, like, standing up and queens need to speak up and social justice were very much on the forefront of our minds. But I feel like it feels a little, even though it's only been a year, and maybe it shouldn't, but it still feels a little dated. Feels very to me like the theme of the challenge. I think now that we're in a post-Trump world, not that activism should stop, but I feel like we need to take a breather, so to speak.
Yeah, I felt I think you put a good point on it. I just felt exhausted, like listening to it. I was just like, oh, I'm just done.
Yeah. I also like when they were choosing teams, and the first one that Raja picks is Jan. And she's like, yeah, and of course you did. And I'm like, oh God, no. Oh God, I can't. My ear was splitting already, and I was just so annoyed. Like, you know what? We've never done this before in here, and I have it in my notes to try this.
Okay.
Lauri, you were here last week as the winner of last week's challenge, and Salandra, you weren't as the loser of last week's challenge. I'm making you guys the team captains.
Okay.
All right. And so, Lauri, you get to go first because you were the winner.
Actually, the loser got to go first.
Oh, okay. Did it really? Oh, yeah. Raja lost. You're right.
Well, she had more. I noticed that because it was uneven, and I thought, I wonder, like, why do they make those decisions
all right,
anyway?
So we'll go here. So you're calling yourself a loser. That's fine. Who would be the first one you pick from the team of All Stars? It'll be even this time though, because you guys aren't on the teams.
I would.
No, it won't be even. Never mind. I made that up.
I would pick Jan.
Oh, your first pick would be Jan?
Based on this specific challenge, singing, writing, dancing.
Okay, yes. I'm writing this down. So Team Salandra, the first one she has is Jan. Lauri, who are you going with?
Ginger.
Ginger. Oh, interesting. This is the same order that the girls went in. All right.
That was my choice. Oh, is it? That was my choice for 2. So I'm going to pick... I don't know if this is influenced by last night, but I'm going to pretend it's influenced by the Beyonce and pick Trinity.
Oh, son of a bitch.
That's the same. So far, you guys are in the same order that the girls went. All right, next. Lauri?
I'm thinking. I'm going to pick Eureka.
Okay. Lauri's looking at the list in the order. I can tell.
No, I swear to God, I'm not.
All right. So, well, actually, there's 2 extra now. So,
and I don't even remember what order it is.
All right.
Okay, so now it's between Pandora and Kylie, right?
Pandora, Kylie, and Raja.
Oh, Raja's there. Oh, I pick Raja.
Son of a bitch.
Raja. Okay. And then who do you pick, Lauri?
Pandora.
Oh, so that means Salandra, you get Kylie, Sonique, Love.
We were definitely on the same page though, because she picked who I wanted, Ginger, and then every time I picked, she said "son of a bitch," and I would have picked Pandora. So
no, I was just calling you a son of a bitch.
Oh, my mistake.
Yeah.
She really hates your mom.
Yeah, I was going to say my mom's.
Your mom knows what she did.
Yeah, she does.
Interesting that you guys came very close to the actual results of the competition. Very, very interesting. All right. In the workroom, I do love when I was watching in the workroom the actual results, and it looks like Lauri did the same thing too, of picking the fat white girls. And I go, that's very typical for a hot girl. They want to be surrounded by fat, white girls.
Yeah, because they makes him look better.
Yeah.
It makes him look hotter.
Yeah, and I was noticing how thin Kylie was. I was like, oh my gosh, she's so thin. I also love that when they were talking to Pandora about Pandora, in your first episode, you had that amazing song. And they show a clip of her going, dick, 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 dick. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, as a child, I like to write and I like to explore my feelings. I'm all, okay, Sondheim, with your dick lyric, you're super proud of it wearing on your resume. What did you think, Lauri? What were your thoughts on that workroom bit and all that?
She just would write dick out all over the place. That's why her family thought she was gay.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of her voice. It was because she kept writing dick all over the place.
Yeah.
That will do it.
Salandra, any big thoughts on the workroom?
Why do their table talks, when they're all standing on the table, they feel extra forced and fake this season? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, do they not actually vibe with each other, or what? I'm confused. And in this particular episode, it was Jan and Ginger, who are two actors. So what was happening? It would just feel so, maybe that was the problem. They were too turned up as actors, but it feels very fake.
There is something weird about it. And you know what's something I noticed too is on international versions, you don't see it as much on the American versions. They can't just walk in the fucking workroom. Every international version, they're doing fucking jokes and bits and Charlie's Angels this and
oh no,
unfortunately
I find that to be American as well.
Oh really? I haven't noticed it this season. Are they doing it this season or?
This season wasn't actually too bad. They came in once and sang Silky Song the next morning.
That's fine. Yeah, but like
I agree what you're saying is annoying now. Yeah.
Yeah, on Drag Race Spain, I think on Down Under too, there was always some sort of like bit when they walked in the workroom.
Oh my God, Down Under! I forgot. I like that.
They
baby.
had to do. They always had to do. Yeah, it always has to be something like funny, and then they always have to laugh. Like it's just like, oh, we're so funny.
Yeah,
it's just like just walk into the goddamn workroom.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would love it if they just shot them at the table.
I was going to say, we
here.
Know they're coming in. Why are we even seeing that?
Yeah. Actually, why don't we just jump to the lip sync? Someone's going to lip sync. Okay,
are we at the part where they're like where RuPaul has come in?
Well, it's actually going to be right now. Next, RuPaul entered the workroom for some table visits. Over at Team Kylie, Ginger reveals she's been writing songs since she was 3. 3 years old.
You know, I hung the bus 3 years this summer, no context, and They are not writers. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Well, she was gifted.
Rue teases Eureka about her lyrics, and Kylie recalls an inspirational message from RuPaul at a book signing. I mean, there's a lot to unpack with this. Over on Team Raja, the girls discuss the first music they ever loved. Rue asks Pandora about her plan to snag a win. Finally, RuPaul warns Trinity not to get too preachy in her verse. Let's start with Adam Salandra. He of show business and thinking that he looks the same that he did 10 years ago. 11 years ago. Salandra, why don't you tell us here what your thoughts were on these table visits?
I found, and even more so, I did watch Untucked, so this was even heightened there, but that Kylie's, Sonique's love of RuPaul is very wholesome and endearing and surprising, because we know how the past queens talk, like, it almost feels like it would be uncool to, like, be gaga over RuPaul.
Oh yeah, especially if you're
amongst
trans.
the other queens.
Yeah, especially if you're trans.
And certainly that I thought about that as well. But I like that. But hers is coming off so like Ru genuinely changed her life. I feel, and not from casting. Like when she was little, I thought that was a very cutie, sweetie.
Mm-hmm. Lauri, any big thoughts on those table visits?
I gotta be honest with you. Part of me was hoping that instead of her telling the story, that she would have been like, "Do you remember that time that you had that book signing? What did you put in my calendar?" And just to see RuPaul go,
Oh, of course. I thought she was going to do that too. And Ru's like,
because RuPaul, like, I honestly feel like she thinks her name is Samantha. Like she does not. I don't think she knows who Sonique Love is. Mm-hmm. Like. I agree that I think that she does have like a genuine love of RuPaul, but I personally didn't see, it just seemed like RuPaul was like, where's the story going? What did I do? What happened?
Oh, I agree. I don't think, not that Ru doesn't like Kylie, but that he particularly cares one way or the other. And
no.
she doesn't seem to care. So love it.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I feel like RuPaul will sometimes decide when to help somebody and then just sort of then other times decide like, they're going to drown themselves. And we saw that with Jan. Like, she just was not helping Jan, but she like went out of her way to help Trinity. And it was just like, oh, so yeah, she does not like care for Jan.
Yeah.
No, they don't. I'm telling you, she pissed somebody off. She might be like a diva or something like that we don't know about. The Kylie Sonique love bit I thought was so fantastic because you're right. Like, RuPaul just wrote some bullshit in her book. And
probably the same thing you wrote to everyone. It was my thought.
Well, I love too that she goes, after I was on season 2. So let's get the timeline straight. After she's on season 2.
Oh, it was after.
Yeah, it was after. So you did a book signing. And I showed up. So that means after she was in season 2, Kylie Sonique Love stood in line at a book signing to get her shit signed by RuPaul.
And there's no way Ru recognized her.
No, Ru was like, oh, that's nice. What?
So how awkward.
And she said it was while her season was airing.
Yeah. And we know for a fact she had at least like 3 things. Because she had a calendar, she had something else for her to sign, and then she had a RuPaul doll.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, it was
after the show. That I thought she said before. I'm shocked by that. That's wild.
Yeah, no. After she was on the show, during her season was airing, she says.
Wow.
And she had RuPaul.
That's why I'm saying that. I wish that she had said, "Do you remember what I wrote?" Just to see if RuPaul would have remembered.
And then she goes,
honestly, I don't think she would.
And you wrote in my promo, self-love. That's all she wrote was self-love. And she starts crying.
She was like, I didn't realize at that point that I should love myself.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, I don't want to say that what she is going through or what that epiphany seems a little ridiculous, that, her one person writing self-love in a notebook is going to get her to realize that she should finally love herself, to each their own. But it just seems so interesting to me that, like, it just seemed weird that this was like that this is a song that we're supposed to be about changing lives, and then Sonique Love magically has a story about how she changed her life by just saying self-love in a book. It's just, I thought that was a little fantastical.
Now let's move on to Ginger Min. Ginger Min says a couple of things that struck me. One, she talks about how she's fat because she eats a lot. And I was like, didn't you just say 2 episodes ago that you're fat because you got, like, your bowel obstructed?
Yeah, she couldn't poop for like 3 years or something.
She became fat. And then let's actually take a listen to some of Ginger's fantastic music. Here we go.
Yummy, yummy, sweet like honey. Give me some sugar, sugar. Yummy, yummy, sweet like honey. I'll be your gummy bear. Meat and veggies on the weekdays. Rules to make you want a freak days. What you know about cheat days? Life is hard. Eat some carbs.
Next, Jan admits her love for the Spice Girls, and I was like, that makes so much fucking sense. Of course, Jan loves the Spice Girls. I mean, she is a literal Spice Girl. And then RuPaul talks to Pandora Box, and she's like, what are you going to do, Pandora? And she's like, I'm going to do the first song that I did. She's like, oh, that's nice. Like, so was not listening to Pandora. Like,
she doesn't even talk. She didn't even talk to Pandora. She asked everybody else, how are they doing? What are they working on? Then she turns to Pandora and she goes, Pandora, you've never won. Yeah. How are you going to win this time? And it's like, totally different scenario that she pitches to Pandora.
And Pandora gives her answer. You can tell RuPaul's thinking about what she's going to have for lunch. And she goes, oh, that's nice. Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on. And and you're like, oh, that's so funny. All right, speaking of moving on, why don't we take a break? When we come back, we're going to do the rest of the show.
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone, there's a party during the break. You guys don't know. There's like a whole samba going on. I do the limbo.
I'm out of breath.
Yeah. It's a whole party going on during that. You guys are hearing ads about BetterHelp and Feels, but not me.
Which is also important.
That's very important, but we're having a party while you're listening to that over there. On the main stage, the girls meet up with producer Leland to record their solo tracks. Ginger impresses. Kylie needs to sing louder. Jan brings a lot of Jan. And Trinity needs to bring the energy. Later, the girls get together for some choreography over on Team Raja. Trinity takes over the choreo. Pandora struggles to keep up. Over on the sidelines, Ginger chimes in with some advice, which is not appreciated. And over on Team Kylie, Eureka and Ginger work together on the choreography for their team. Let's start with Lauri Roggenkamp, the recording, the choreo, everything that was going on there. Lauri, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, again, it's on the soundproof open air stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love how they show Ginger having to plug in her headphone.
Yeah.
Just like, why was that needed? I mean, it was fine. I thought it was good. I like the choreography. The whole recording, I was just sort of like, eh. The choreography part I thought was so funny, especially when Trinity goes over the choreo with Raja, and Raja's like picking it up, and then Pandora, you just see like look so confused, and then at some point they go, okay, well, Pandora, just show us like how you would move if you moved. And Pandora just barely moves. And
so you wouldn't.
Yeah. And then Trinity goes, oh, she's got a little bit of a bob. She likes a point. It's like they're just desperately trying to find something that Pandora likes to do.
Yeah, I thought that was cute though.
Yeah.
But Ginger had to sort of like tell them to do it, and then there was like tension there because they were like, don't tell us what to do. But meanwhile, that helped them do much better than their team when it came to choreography.
Well, I do feel like the person to blame for that is Pandora, because she just was super anxious, but she wasn't speaking up,
Yeah.
And so Ginger had to step up and be like, hey, and Ginger didn't say like, you guys, Pandora can't figure this out. She's like, just make sure everybody's on the same page, even though we all knew what she meant. Yeah. And they just were like, oh, whatever. And so then Ginger was like, all right, no, you guys look great. Keep going. And then Trinity was like, we don't need the sarcasm. And I was like, okay, well, what do you expect her to say?
Yeah.
Salandra.
Agreed. No, I liked the teamwork of it all, but I'm just saying that it is, I noticed that it came after Ginger made her comment that they weren't thrilled about her making. And she could have used that on her team, a little more teamwork. Ginger and Eureka are both loud and wanting control, but I was confused during it because I was like, isn't Kylie the dancer? Why aren't they listening to her? But apparently they thought that too, and no, she's a gymnast, we find out.
It's one of these things where I think there's a little like shenanigans going on. One is on a second viewing, it didn't seem like the choreo was as much trouble for Team Kylie as Team Raja and Confessional would want you to believe. I think they were a little butthurt that Ginger weighed in. Now, what's funny about Ginger's weighing in is, I don't necessarily disagree with Ginger, but the way she did it was she was just kind of just butted in. Like, why couldn't she say, like, would you guys mind hearing a suggestion? She just said, like, why are you doing this? And then she was mad that they were like, who's asked you, right? Now, again, I can agree, where then she was like, well, I'm just saying this. And then they go like, you don't have to be sarcastic. It went, everybody was wrong, is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Everyone was like, well, you're all coming off poorly.
Yeah. Next, I want to talk about the recording.
Communication wasn't there. Yeah.
What the fuck was Trinity wearing at the recording? Like, it was like a giant orange puffy jacket. It was ridiculous. Okay, one, I want to talk about that. I think she's trying to be some sort of fashion plate.
I do too.
I think honestly, she's genuinely wants somebody to say that she's trade.
That's what it is. Yeah. Leland, by the way, the guy who's producing the thing, he's not there yet, but he's on the self-producing track where he's trying to give luckily he's not being a dick, but very like trying to get his little like inspirational quips in. And we're like, can you just hit record? Like, do we need you weighing in?
You just hit record.
Yeah, and tell us how it sounds, but he's like, why don't you really speak to that inner child or something like that? I was like, what? You're just recording a fucking dumb song that made no sense to anybody. I feel sorry about Pandora, actually. Well, I do and I don't. And I feel like a lot of the girls feel the same way. It's like, yeah, she's out there, she's struggling. But later on, she goes like, I've been waiting for 8 years. I'm like, well, then, bitch, learn to dance. They've had a dance challenge since All Stars 2 every year. If you've been waiting to get on, learn to dance. And then finally, the one thing I had was, again, Jan. I'm trying to figure out, did she misunderstand the assignment?
I'm confused by that too, but maybe this was untucked, but she at one point says backstage pretty happily, she was like, I heard, or they were talking about selective hearing, or like when you're talking to RuPaul, oh, this was probably untucked, and Kylie's talking about loving RuPaul. Mm-hmm. And then they talk about being nervous around her. And so you're like sort of only half paying attention and half like, oh my gosh, it's RuPaul. And Jan says, yes, because I was hearing, be funny, do this or that. But one thing I totally missed is the inspiration part, which she admitted she did. And it's like, well, I don't know. In the editing, that's pretty much the only note we got was you need to be inspirational.
But nobody told her along the way?
She literally went down the line and heard people say, this is the message I want to say. And so what part of that did she not understand?
Apparently all of it.
But then she goes, oh, the message I want to say. So you think, honestly, was Jan just going like, I'm Jan in her head while like everybody was talking?
Well, I think historically these have been like bitch tracks or like talking about how you are. So I think it was already pre-written in her head, like if she did one. And so that's probably all she heard. Yeah, I think it's all she heard. All right, it's Elimination Day, and the girls get ready for the runway. The queens discuss their favorite girl groups. Jan talks about her grandma. Meanwhile, all the girls give each other pep talks before the runway. Let's start with Adam Salandra from Show Business. Your big thoughts on this Elimination Day?
Well, you mean like before they actually perform?
Yeah. When they're getting ready. There's not much to this one, so if you don't really have a lot to
say. No, I like them.
All right, Lauri.
And that's it.
I thought it was really cute that Jan's grandmother wrote a letter to RuPaul about how she shouldn't have gotten kicked off.
Oh, it's so funny that you and I have such different interpretations here. I was like, this grandma sounds like the Janma sounds like she's just as much of a problem as this Jan. That her daughter entered this competition and then she lost, appropriately so, and she has to write an angry letter to RuPaul. The other thing, too, is like, just grandma created this Jan, right? Where she was like, you can tell Jan's one of these people who's every little fucking shit she took was golden. Every note she sang was beautiful. Every joke she told was funny. Jan is the product when a kid is only told wonderful, glowing, helicopter parent things about themselves. Which is it's a noble thing, but pardon me, Lauri?
My grandma once told me that she tried to get contact information for the head of Comedy Central and she couldn't figure it out.
Is that true?
So she was trying to call Comedy Central to say that they needed to put her granddaughter on television.
Well, that's something I get behind.
I love that. But it's also what is it about that? When I first moved out here and like I booked my first commercial, my mom was like, oh, that's good money. Like, you should try and do those all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, good business model. I didn't really consider. Thank you.
By the way, in the Elimination Day, they're talking about what counts and what doesn't count for challenge wins. And Ginger says, well, I did win a reading challenge if that counts. I actually think that counts. I think for a mini challenge,
I think if someone was tied, I would count it. Okay. And I strongly respect a reading challenge winner. But I still think, because it's still considered a mini challenge and those are usually so throwaway-ish.
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly.
All right, let's talk about the Maxi Challenge with Show Up Queen, the song. Let's start with you, Lauri. What were your big thoughts on the actual produced number?
I mean, it obviously was like the queens looked great. They did a passable job. I definitely was like, I saw that. I thought Trinity did a great job, and I was like, "Oh, she's probably going to win." Mm-hmm. I don't know. I will say this.
Yeah,
a lot of the queens had similar songs to Jan, but at some point they would reference something that was sort of messagey. So, like Trinity's had like her whole thing was how she was great, but that she knew her status, right? Her AIDS status or HIV status. And then, you know, Ginger was like, I know I'm great, even though she's a bigger person. So it just like, I felt like Jan's was like, I know I'm great. There just wasn't like a second thing of like, I have ADHD or something to be some messagey style thing. But I'm just saying that she didn't have like a message to throw in there. But she's just not that person. She doesn't have a thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what's hard. So I just like was like, I was like, oh, she might get in the bottom, but it just didn't seem like it was that big of a deal to me. So I don't know.
What about you, Salandra?
I thought about that, and there was something, it was way more than just the lyrics not being the assignment for me. There was something, well, first of all, like, I think I already said this, but when it first started, I thought, oh boy, this is horrible. But then I realized it was mostly just Jan and Pandora, and it wasn't even they were bad, even though Raja and Trinity then came on and killed it, in my opinion. It was just more than Jan's lyrics. There was something not right. There's something awkward about it. It wasn't, RuPaul described it as having no soul, and I kind of feel that. It was like, I'm by the books doing everything right, good voice, but there was just, it wasn't fun to watch, let's say that. And then same with Pandora. Not horrible as a performer, but it just did not pop her vibe at all. I thought Eureka and Ginger, though, were both great, and Kylie killed it to me just by looking like a pop star, which she just does. That's what it is. But she also had a lot of strength behind her voice, which is not who she usually is. So for me, this was more of a win for her than last week.
Very interesting. You know, I'll be honest with you. Team Raja and their lyrics to me didn't make a lot of sense. Even Trinity's, which I feel, look, I'm not saying you have to rhyme, but when the chorus and the other girls set up that there's a rhyme scheme, Trinity's doesn't rhyme really at all. And so that was very odd. I mean, I appreciate the message, but it was like, Raja was good, but like Pandora's, like I was like, what is she even talking about? That she's quiet and so she goes for a walk or something? It was like made no sense.
And she literally, what she said she was going to do, take the first song and redo it with a dick, 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 but with the different words. Yeah. And it was like, okay, but you did that,
and the I know, you're right. She really did. And then,
but then what I think is so funny is then they call her out on it, and she's like, I told you I was going to do that. And you laughed. Like, it's just like, you know.
Well, because RuPaul wasn't listening. That's the right there. RuPaul just said, I wasn't listening to you. And then Jan, you know what's so funny was my boyfriend was coming down on me for talking shit on Jan. But he hadn't watched the episode yet. I go, let me play these clips for you. And I played him like one of them. Actually, that's why I pulled it for Lauri. I even played him this one.
Like Mama Ru said, play my song!
Which they didn't even use that version of it because they were Leland was like, no, we're not doing that. Right? It's crazy. And then, but you know, Team Kylie, I think if you're going on a team, they had the strongest lyrics. They were more put together. It seemed like a more cohesive unit. They all got the challenge. They knew what it was about. Each queen had their own message. So that's the winner there is Team Kylie. All right, everyone. Now it's time for the looks. You know how we do it here. There are answers here on this page. I won't show you because I don't want anyone to peek and know the answers.
Good.
Adam Salandra, let's start with you.
Okay.
The first one down the line was Jan. She was wearing like a New Jersey housewife goes to the beach kind of look. What were your thoughts here? Toot or boot? And any thoughts you may have?
The look overall is a toot. I like it. But when she said her voiceover over it, what is more tropical than the Jersey Shore? I would say literally any body of water anywhere else in the world, probably more tropical than the Jersey Shore, but that aside, I did like the look.
What about you, Lauri?
Boot. I like the bikini aspect, but the drapery, I wasn't a fan of.
The correct answer is toot. That's a point for Adam. All right, Pandora Box. She came out in like a 1950s inspired going to the beach tropical thing going on here. Let's start with Lauri Roggenkamp. Lauri, toot or boot?
Boot. I thought it was cute.
Boot? I thought it was cute.
Oh, toot. I thought it was cute.
I thought I was having a stroke.
Salandra?
I'm also say I do think it's cute, and I'll give it a toot. But you know, it's very Pandora. She's not like blowing my mind on the runways or anything, but still toot.
Very good. The correct answer is toot. All right, next we have Raja O'Hara coming down the runway in a two-piece bathing suit. Let's start with Adam Salandra. Toot or boot?
This is a toot. I really liked the hair, and I guess you could argue that a bathing suit is too simple, but for me, it's almost like you have to do more work. You have to still make that look like a woman as a man, so toot.
Salandra? Lauri?
Boot. I thought it was way too simple. It just didn't seem like... The hair was good, but it just didn't seem like there was any effort put into it.
All right, the correct answer is boot. So we're tied right now, 2-2. So anybody's...
Oh my God. Okay, but in Brooke's looks, there's 2 star eye emojis under it, and those people are correct. Just like me.
All right, next we have Trinity K. Bonet, who came out in a very elaborate, like, Brazilian carnival-inspired outfit. Toot or boot there, Lauri Roggenkamp?
Look, if we go off picture, I would say toot because it does look amazing. But when you watched her down the runway, I implore everybody to rewatch that. She looks so terrified the entire time she's walking down that runway. And to the point where when she's about to leave the stage, you could tell she just gives out a breath of like, okay, I did it. So, I'm going to say toot.
Wait, a toot or a boot?
Toot.
Oh. All right. That's the weirdest. Okay. Salandra, what about you?
I give it a toot.
Okay.
But it reminds me of something she specifically has done before. I'm not exactly sure what. It might have even been Season 6. But it's still a toot. It's obviously well done.
All right. The correct answer is toot. Very good. Eureka comes down next. She dressed like a beach ball. Let's start with you, Adam Salandra. What about you? What are your thoughts? Your boot.
I say toot. This is, again, another one that I'd be like, okay, this is a little too simple. But the fact that she just looks like a beach ball. And not just like, oh, that's her body. Like, the way that the thing is designed so it makes that part look round. I thought it was very cool. Toot.
Lauri Roggenkamp.
Boo. I just feel like it doesn't fit her very well. It scrunches up in the crotch area.
Yeah, now looking at that picture, I do agree with that.
And I feel like it just didn't, look, I just don't understand why anybody would want to look like a beach ball. Like she's done all this work to make herself look very glamorous in other times. And then this one time she chooses to look like a beach ball. I thought that was kind of, I don't know. I didn't like it.
All right. The correct answer is toot. All right. Next we have toot.
Who voted toot?
What do you mean?
Me and the judge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's the judge?
A beach ball. So of course I loved it. All right. Next we have Ginger Minge. She came out in a very kind of similar to Jan, kind of like 50s Peg Bundy inspired going to the beach thing. Let's start with Lauri Roggenkamp. Lauri, toot or boot?
Boot. I don't like the long frilliness of it. I thought if it just was it was shorter, I think it would have been better. But yeah, I just didn't like the long drapiness look.
Adam Salandra?
Finally, someone acknowledges banana leaves as being Blanche's wallpaper. She got herself J.Lo Devereaux. Whenever I see those, I think they're in like the Beverly Hills Hotel or wherever. I'm like, oh, it's Blanche's bedroom, and no one ever understands. Ginger gets it, and she gets a toot from me.
Correct answer is toot. Lauri, Kylie Sonique Love finally comes down in it's almost like a mix of Raja and Trinity. Another Brazilian, but a much shorter piece, smaller piece, almost like a one piece there. Let's start with you, or was it a 2-piece? I don't remember.
I think one.
Okay, let's start with you, Lauri.
Wait, whose?
Kylie Sonique Love.
Oh yeah, looks like one.
All right, Lauri, what about you? What are your thoughts?
Boot. I can't see anything because there's a goddamn feather in the middle of it.
Salandra?
I am torn, but this for her was very draggy, which I liked to see, and so toot.
All right, well, the correct answer is toot. So with a score of 6-3, it's Adam Salandra for the win.
I don't think that this is fair.
Why?
Because you were just going by what you guessed.
Not what I get. It's written down on a piece of paper.
What you wrote down.
Yeah.
Well, that's the game.
That's the game.
You win by matching his guess.
Have you ever played this apples to apples, Lauri?
Literally
Yes.
that.
Okay, you've played apples to apples. Salandra, you have not?
But you keep pretending like it's like some ethereal judge is the one
Did I
voting.
say
You're
that?
the
Did I
one
say I'm an ethereal judge? All I'm saying is it's like apples to apples. You're trying to guess what the person who's judging is going
Why
to
is
choose.
it that we have to guess? Why can't you
You're not
guess what
trying.
I'm guessing?
Salandra, you want to weigh in?
I just think that we're giving our authentic opinions, and if they happen to match Joe's, who is the grandfather of this entire production company,
Thank you.
then
Yes.
you get a point.
You're right. He is very old.
Which is another thing, by the way, is like, well, I think Pandora is a little older than me, but like they act like she's ancient, like she's gonna die any day, and she's Mother Dust or something.
Yeah, like she needs to win before she goes to the great beyond. Like you need to make sure she. Yeah.
Why is Mother Dust killing you? But
Anyway, you know what's so funny is there's some movie. I almost want to call Taylor right now. Where's my phone's right there to see if he would know. Oh, I know what it's called. Okay. The name of the movie is Trip to Bountiful. I don't even know what it's about, but it's about an old lady and then she goes on a trip to Bountiful or something like that. My question is, if I called Taylor the Latte Boy right now, would he know Trip to Bountiful? Because he knows all that weird 80s shit.
Of course he would. I barely even know Taylor, and I know.
But I'm just going to tell him who stars in it, okay? It's from 1985, The Trip to Bountiful, and it stars Geraldine Page. Okay, here we go. I'm going to call him on speaker, okay? I'm going to call him on speaker.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, really quickly. 1980, whether you would know, if you could name this movie, just two pieces of information.
Okay.
1985, and it stars Geraldine Page.
The Trip to Bountiful?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, thank you, you win. All right, goodbye.
All right, bye.
I forgot
We all voted for him, though.
Yeah, we all knew
Why
he
are
would
we
know.
doing this? I forgot why we're doing this, but
Because I was saying that because it's about an old lady who goes home. Let me see I don't remember what the log line's about. I just remember it being. Let me see. In 1940s Texas, an elderly woman is determined to visit her childhood home for one last time. They act like Pandora Box is Geraldine Page in The Trip to Bountiful. Like she's about to die.
But you know what? That's the energy she's also giving off. Like, who's another older contestant? I don't know. Bianca's older than them.
Chad Michaels.
K. Bonet.
No, Chad Michaels. Chad about to die, so Rude wanted him to be happy.
Yeah. Well, of course they make jokes, whatever, but I think that Pandora's also giving off older energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's trying to play the hand she was dealt. She's the older. She's an older drag queen, so she's trying to play the sympathy card of like, I've been waiting for this for 8 years.
Yeah.
8.
Back on the main stage, RuPaul names Trinity K. Bonet the winner of the challenge. Meanwhile, Pandora Box and Jan are placed in the bottom two. Back in the workroom, Pandora breaks down in tears and talks about her struggles to succeed in the competition. The girls feel for Pandora and comfort her. Jan breaks down too. Back on the main stage, Trinity stands ready to meet her lip-sync competitor. RuPaul summons forth this week's lip-sync assassin, Alexis Mateo. The girls battle it out in a lip-sync battle for their legacies. The song, Dance Again by Jennifer Lopez. In the end, Alexis Mateo is named the winner of the lip-sync. Jan and Pandora come forward to hear their fate, and when Alexis pulls out the lipstick, she shows Pandora's name. But wait! There's more! In an All-Stars first, the cast vote was a tie, and Jan's name was also pulled. RuPaul states that All-Stars rule dictate that the winner of the challenge will determine who goes home. With that, Trinity K. Bonet steps forward and reveals the name on her lipstick is Jan. With that, Jan is the 7th girl eliminated from the competition and the next queen to enter the game. within the game. Ladies, any final thoughts on the episode, including the lip sync, including all of that? We'll start with you, Lauri Roggenkamp.
No, I pretty much look. I think that I thought it was a little sad that okay. Here's what I'm going to say. I felt like everybody in the workroom was team Pandora, for in my opinion. I felt like when Pandora was talking, they all cared. When Jan was talking, they were all like, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say again, I didn't really get the whole tie thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. But yeah, I thought it was a little crazy making, for Jan. I thought they were like, how can we fuck with Jan in the worst way possible? And they came up with this.
Yeah, 100%. Salandra, any final thoughts?
I do, but first I just want to respond to that and say that I think it was because Pandora, it was her first time in the bottom, and she was getting emotional and crying, so they all surrounded her. And for Jan, she had a hard time even getting emotional, because even though she wanted to be there, it was her third time. Like, she saw the writing on the wall, I think. I thought when they were pleading their case to Trinity, Jan was saying, she was like, I can be up there at the end with you singing and dancing, and like Pandora can't. I was like, why would Trinity want you there at the end doing the things that she's good at?
Yes.
What a dumb thing to say.
Yes. 100%.
Like, that's what she's dying for. And I also think something weird is it felt to me like Trinity in my mind felt like a front runner from the beginning, but she was in the bottom too the first time around. But there was just something, I think it's the way they're editing her and the confessionals. I'm like, okay, they're trying to make this a thing. And they are. She's doing it.
I mean,
it was rough when...
Yeah, I agree with you.
Same. It was rough when Jan said in her confession at the end, like, people are going to want to see more of me, just like season 12. And
yeah,
I'm like unfortunately, I don't think that's the way it went.
Yeah, I think
this time around.
No, I don't think the first time around.
No, but then what is she? This is why I think that this isn't fake. It's because I think that she is this way. She goes, people want to see more of me, and then she pauses and she goes, I want to see more of me.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
I don't think she's fake, but yeah. She just wants to be on longer. Yeah. Did anyone catch Rue's gasp of shock that they edited in when Pandora was eliminated?
I
know. It was like,
it's so dumb. It's the dumbest.
What's so surprising about that? She never won, and she was in the bottom.
Well, also she knows exactly what's going to happen,
and not to mention that. Yeah.
Did you give everything you wanted to say there, Salandra?
Yeah, I got it all out.
All right. Okay, let's move on. All right. So, first of all, RuPaul judging Pandora Box because she can't dance. Has anybody watched this RuPaul try and dance? It is the saddest, cringiest thing you have ever seen in your life. That bitch cannot dance at all.
We just saw it at the season 13 finale, and it wasn't great.
No, it is not good. Or an AJ and the Queen was supposed to be the most popular drag queen of all time, and she just stands there and she's like... And people
she is technically the most ha-ha drag queen of all time.
She is, but that character was like, what? Also, Michelle criticizing Pandora Box for saying ha 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 twice. She goes, you took up 2 stanzas with that verse, you know? And I'm like, does Michelle Visage remember this hit? This is the whole song.
Very generous with the word hit.
She's like, how dare you? How dare you repeat yourself?
I love that point that you just made, but I will say, since it is a inspirational lyrics challenge, you might not want to waste it again on the joke you already used, but I guess they were supposed to tell her that in the walkthrough.
Well, look, here's the other thing, too. When RuPaul's going down the line, she goes, Trinity, that dancing seemed like someone to choreograph. Were you the choreographer? I'm like, bitch, you've been done you. She's the choreographer. Who are you trying to fool? Do you think that does she want us to believe she just walks in and she's like, what's going on? She knows exactly what is going on at all times.
First of all, the fact that she knows their names tells you there's an earpiece, for starters.
Exactly. You're right. And quoting Jessica Wilde, by the way, did you guys clock during the deliberations back in the workroom? Everyone was like, congratulations, Trinity, congratulations. I'm like, oh, she fucking beat that shit into them. They were all
not letting that happen again.
Yeah. They did. Now, look, Pandora talks about how, she just struggles to reveal herself and she gets another chance. I'm like, bitch, you've had a ton of opportunities to reveal who you are. We've heard this before. And, I do feel for that. Now, look, part 2 of this is, why do you have to show your true self when you're a drag queen? Some of the most iconic queens, we know very little about them. I don't know much about Bianca Del Rio. Yeah. I don't know. Alaska is probably one of the most guarded queens of all time.
The Boulay brothers.
The Boulay brothers. Yeah, we don't know anything about those queens, right? We barely know that they're dating. Yeah. So I don't know why that's
they're dating.
You're being funny.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen Dragula, but I thought they were literally brothers.
No,
they're dating. They're
like boyfriend. They've been for like years and years and years. They're a couple.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, so it's like, why do you have to show yourself? That's a weird thing that happens in the show. It's like a skill no one else needs to have.
Yeah. Well, they always talk about that. But like you guys said, I think Adam said this a couple episodes ago, that like whatever thing they need to say to like maneuver themselves to why they want to eliminate somebody is what it doesn't matter if it's totally different from last episode. The next episode they're going to say, we need to see your character. Then they're going to.
They literally are doing that to Jan. Back and forth each week.
Speaking of, by the way, so Pandora, and I got the sense it was very real, genuine tears. Breaks down. She's struggling in the competition, and then everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And they run, and then Jan comes in, and she sees when Pandora goes and talks to Trinity, then she starts crying. Right? I'm like, bitch, you're so fucking patently obvious, right? And then it's fake alligator tears. But I also love though when you take what she said to every different group, and even including at the end, it was all different. So when she was talking to the girls, she's like, I was flawed this week. I didn't understand the assignment. I didn't hit my mark. But if you keep me around, I promise I will do better. Then she goes back and talks to Trinity, and she's like, bitch, I'm the one that deserves to be here, and we should be me and you in the top 2 dancing and choreography, blah, blah, blah. And then they eliminate her, and she's like, they were scared by how good I was. And you're like,
hey, somebody's got to love her.
We're like, which is it? You know?
Well, she's trying to figure out how she can, get whoever she needs to, whatever combination of people she needs to get on her side. Mm-hmm. Because she's throwing darts at a board right now, because she knows she's not dumb. She knows that, people like Pandora more. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. Any other big giant thoughts on this episode? Salandra, have you said everything you want to say?
I have, but when is this game within a game happening? The season's clearly almost over.
When it's your
I don't want them to be like, we're doing another 3 months. Surprise.
Yeah. What about you, Lauri? Have you said everything you have to say?
I personally think that Jan is going to win game within a game and then come back, and she's going to be eliminated all over again.
Oh, that'd be so great. I would love that if that happens too, to see it all happen all over again. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next weekend every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 6. So for Adam Salandra, Lauri Roggenkamp, and myself,
sashay away.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. You can also leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/afterthoughtmedia. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. Lauri has another podcast. It's called Bloody Podcast, and you can find it wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Lauri Roggenkamp on Instagram at Lauri You Liar. That's Lauri, the letter U, Liar. You can follow Adam Salandra on Instagram at Adam Salandra. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram at Joe Betance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Very special thanks to these expensive tier Patreon supporters. Agnesia Shopinska, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Coco San Pedro, Declan Prosser, Drew Brooks, E. Smith, Emma, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Jesse Harris, Jimmy Kilmasa, Lauren Eckert, Lionel Campbell, Lucy Carrasco, Luke Stamen, Nutella, Nicholas Alexander Springham, Poppy Woods, Ricardo Herrera, Sarah Yu, Spiral Queen, Tom Bombs, Travis Newland, Troy Anderson, and Zach Nelson. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.